key role in the diagnosis of poisoning by excluding all other causes of death by submitting appropriate samples to the toxicology lab. So, in most of the places, we are not having good facilities for the necropsy. So, whether we have a facility or not, it is a duty of us to arrive at the correct diagnosis, and we have to face the court in case of pathological case. So, in making a diagnosis, so first of all, we have to rule out any physical injury, trauma that has caused the death, or otherwise any pathological problems or lesions are there. As you see here, there is valvulus of the intestine, or otherwise intersusception is there, or torsion is there, or otherwise in case of neonates, you may also encounter, as in this piglet, neonatal piglet, there is cleft lip as well as the phallup. So those things we have to rule out. Then the topmost thing, everybody, whenever people are doing the thing, doing the postmortem examination, uh, they want to check first only the infectious cause. So the knowledge to diagnose the infectious disease, everybody knows. So, but the key role of pathologist here it is in knowing these whatever I said in the pathological causes. Then once we have ruled out these possibilities, and still we suspect some kind of generalized congestion, hemorrhages, or otherwise unusually absence of deletion, then we have to go for suspect poisoning or toxicity. Suppose if that is comes as negative, then we also have to look for, in case of live animals, whether any deficiency disorder, clinical signs are there, or specific lesions are a particular deficiency disorder is there. That we have to check out by sending appropriate sample. Or otherwise, in case of starvation, so digestive tract, um, most of the time it may be empty, or sometimes if it is getting access to the food just a day before, also he may be having the content, but the lesions suggestive of cachexia may be there. So that may suggest the cause of the death or starvation, or otherwise severe dehydration, even though food may be there in the digestive tract. The dryness of the carcass, crackling sound in the subcutis, absence of water, or otherwise recent presence of water in the, in case of chicken, it may be there in the crop. So that may also cause the dehydration as lead to shock and may cause the death of the animal. That may be of hypovolemic shock. Or otherwise the animal may be good, it may be having feed in the digestive tract, and it may also have the water may be there, and the condition may be good, as in this case of hurling cases of death in case of chicken. Usually young chicks may die whenever they get cool breeze, if they don't get adequate temperature in the brooding period. So they may huddle together, they may have suffocation and may die. So this anoxia, anoxic condition prevailing there, it may also lead to death.
we should start with bacteriology or microbiology. Then we have to prefer cytology, impression, smears, or scrapings. Then you take a small piece of for histopathology, especially for histopathology. So we should collect the samples in 10% formally, very commonly we do, but the sample should be of minimum thickness, but not more than 5 millimeter thickness. And in case of luminal organs, 1 square centimeter is more than sufficient. And for electron microscopy, you can choose a still smaller piece. Probably 2 millimeter cube is more than sufficient. Then you can take a sample for virology, followed by parasitology. Then at the end, so we need a massive sample for toxicology. Next. Whenever we get a virological case, first of all, first read the first information report that, that is given by the police along with the request for the post-mortem examination. So first information report as well as the post-mortem records letter from the sub-inspector of police or the magistrate or otherwise wildlife warden. If the request letter has not come and if it is from the sub-inspector of police, FIR should also be taken. If it is not, then don't accept it. So only when we are getting these things, then we have to accept the carcass for post-mortem examination with tolerable case. While reading the FIR, check the identification details given there and check with the actual animal. You check the color, breed, approximation of the age, then check the tag number if it is there, identification marks, color, everything. Get the history about the case. Whether it is suspected for poisoning or it is a definite case of poisoning. Definite case means somebody has uh, seen the animal poisoned, or otherwise, if it is suspected for poisoning, means the animal might have been found dead. So many people in the history used to say the animal died in the morning. Once they go to the farm, they will be seeing a dead animal. They will be writing in the
Sir,
records.
sir, not audible, sir.
Wait. Is it audible, sir? Hello?
Yes, sir, it is audible, sir.
Okay, thank you.
வாய்ஸ் போய் இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணு சார்.
Selvaraj, speak up, please. Speak up a little loud.
கொஞ்சம் வாய்ஸ் இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணு சார்.
Okay, sir, thank you. So when we get the history, when the animal is sorry, I'm getting echo.
Selvaraj, please go ahead. You can hear you.
Right, okay, sir. When the history says that the animal died in the morning, that means we presume that the animal have died, that some people has seen it. But there is a lot of difference between the animal died as well as animal found dead. The animal is found dead, then it might have died the day before also. So in all organized forms, we should be very specific in writing when the animal has died, whether it is found dead or otherwise it died. Or somebody has seen it, or what, then note the time. Then if the animal has been poisoned and was dead, and somebody has found any material, suspected material nearby the dead animal, and the owner or the police, they bring the bait or the suspected material, that also we have to accept it and they have to preserve it. And if many animals are dying, if some live animals are also there, note the clinical signs, if any noticed. If it is the animals are showing nervous signs, brain has to be collected. If the animals are showing dyspnea, respiratory signs, lung has to be included. And if the animals are showing diarrhea, intestine with the contents, including the dung, has to be collected. Then if you don't know the what type of poison, then it is we have to be very safe on our side. Then we have to collect as much material as possible to go through all the diagnostic procedures, starting from bacteriology, virology, parasitology, histopathology, like that. So if you know specifically, if somebody has giving a clue, or if it is suspected of certain poisoning, always it is better to consult the nearby regional forensic laboratory and ask the chemical examiner and ask their guidance what samples to be collected in such cases. You get the information from them. Then in poisoning cases, always we have to make all the materials that has to be collected be ready. That means containers, preservatives, labels, markers, and all. Next. So it is in the field, we will be seeing the carcass, uh, and we have to do the postmortem, and sometimes we may not have the assistance also. As you see here, this is the first case that I have done here in Varathanadu of a horse with no assistance. And the second one, it is just to show the picture, it is to show the some plastic sheet being used as the platform. And if we have then slowly we got the facilities, and we have a small animal table on the top, and the last one, it is the large animal table also. So whenever we have a good facilities like this, tables and all, so it is the physical tiredness that we get will be delayed. Hence, you can concentrate on doing the postmortem examination. So, as Dr. Selvakumar has told, in these kind of legal cases, we have to examine all the organs. So, all the 12 systems we should examine, inclusive of all the organs. And wherever lesions are there, photograph them. It is always better, major organs. Even if there is no lesion, like vital organs like heart, lung, liver, spleen, kidney, minimum. Then additionally it is brain. So in case of legal postmortem examination, if it is suspected for poisoning and if you are going to collect the materials for the forensic laboratory, don't wash any organs. If we are washing the organ, that we usually do for doing the postmortem examination, routine diagnostic postmortem examination. So if poisonous material is there, as in case of the stomach or intestine, it will be washed out. So don't wash these luminal organs. And in case of poisoning, we have to collect the samples in the presence of the police constable or the person who is coming from the police station, because they are the witness for the samples collected from the particular corpus. While collecting, avoid contamination of the samples with the soil or the digestive content. So, hence why I say we should do the metrological examination with the good facilities like a good table, or otherwise in the field at least we can spread some plastic sheet so that the organs, even if it is slipping from our hand, it will not touch the soil. Likewise, we should always open the digestive tract only at the end, or otherwise, as in case of while collecting, so we should tie both the ends of the stomach or the intestinal lobe that we are going to take. We have to remove from the carcass, then we have to open it outside the carcass. So always collect the samples as quickly as possible. We have to start the postmortem examination as quickly as possible. Also, the samples have to be quickly taken and it has to be put in the preservative, because as long as we delay the sampling and preservation, there is every likelihood of losing the poisonous material, or otherwise the concentration of the poisonous material, it may be degrading, or otherwise it may get diluted.
Okay. VCP కూడా
For poisoning testing, each organ should be sent in separate container. Whereas in case of histopathology, we will be putting all the samples in a single container. There we can identify. But here, in case of poisoning, we have to put each and every organ in a separate container. Some poison, if there are 2 or 3 poison, some poisons may be accumulating in kidney, some may be in the, it may be retained in the stomach itself, some may be in the intestine. So if multiple poisoning is there, if we put all the organs together, then it will be it will be diluted, and we cannot also estimate the concentration. Also, it will be a tough job. So we have to put the samples in the preservative as quickly as possible. And the collected materials from the postmortem cases should be in safe custody. So it should be preserved in a designated bureau, or otherwise a particular room or lab. The materials collected should be sealed and should be sent in a sealed packing only. And the seal that we use should be same throughout and should be kept in safe custody. containers, the main thing is the container should be leak proof. So always from the toxicology lab, forensic lab, they insist on only glass bottles, and that glass bottle should have only the glass stopper. That should be arsenic free. So minimum of 1 liter capacity. So this whatever the picture that I have shown here, glass bottle, it is a soda glass that is 1.5 liters capacity. That will be more than sufficient. But this is when we are putting the samples, there is likely while transporting chances for breakage is also there, and the availability is a little bit tough. So hence why most of the areas now we are collecting the plastic bottles. Or when we are using these plastic bottles, the container should be washed off thrice with distilled water, then thrice with the preservative that we are going to use it. So we have to avoid, if at all, if we are using the old Horlicks bottle and all, metal screws, metal leads should be avoided. So you should have some cardboard inner lining should be there, then it is okay. So these plastic bottles like these polypropylene bottles can be used if the samples can be frozen. If it is frozen and they kept in the freezer. Likewise, storage bags, plastic bags, Ziploc covers, will pack may be used if the sample has to be frozen. Aluminum foil may also be used if the sample has to be frozen. So the common preservative, very commonly everybody is using is the saturated common salt solution. So how it is prepared? It is a sodium chloride. 35 grams will easily dissolve. Up to 35 grams, it will easily dissolve in 100 ml of water. So if you put something some extra, 5 to 10 grams, up to approximately it is 50 grams per 100 ml. A saturated solution. You see, as in you will be seeing salt. So leaving the salt, we have to use this saturated solution alone for samples. We can also use this common solution should not be used in case of salt poisoning. Spirit, in case of poisoning, we should not use this spirit. So we have spirit, rectified spirit, methylated spirits. Of alcohol, phosphorus, formaldehyde, acetic acid, or carbolic acid, and other drugs of phenol groups. And methylated spirit contains ethyl alcohol 95%, and ethanol is added to make it poisonous, so that nobody is ingesting as alcohol. So that will be damaging. It will cause blindness in case of if it is accidentally ingested. So how much quantity of preservative we have to use? So it is approximately 1 ml of the preservative per gram of the tissue we have to use. And depending upon quantity of the heights. Piece of the preservative and the leaf. So because so as these samples, if it is getting liberating some gas and all, so it will have some space on the top. Gas, the empty space will be there. So that it will not damage the lid or the container, or otherwise no breakage will be. The samples can also be frozen immediately, and it can also be sent, transported in ice packs. Nowadays, gel packs are available. And in case of urine, we can use thymol, 1 gram per liter of water. For blood, we can use sodium fluoride, 20 milligram per ml of blood. So if the sample that we are collecting, if it is immediately transported the next day itself, then you can store the samples in the refrigerator. So if it is not possible to send within 1 or 2 days, then store the samples at minus 20 degrees centigrade in the freezer. So when we are collecting the liquid specimens in the plastic container, always, and it is going to be frozen, then always leave some 10 to 20% headspace. And we should keep it in our mind. Formalin should not be used in case of toxicologic estimation. So only this above preservative has to be used. Very commonly we use saturated common salt solution. Labels and markers. So use good quality self-adhesive computer labels, and that are otherwise industrial quality label that is being used in case of this medicines. And we have to label it, mark it with waterproof ink marker pens. Pencil should not be used over the labels because it can be easily erased. That should not be used. Whereas in the field, for collecting the smears, we can use the pencils for diagnostic purpose. So nowadays, frosted glass slides are available. In the frosted area, we can make a markings. So these kind of metal seal is important to seal the packings. So this seal, it can be of a private seal, putting your initial, or otherwise an official seal. And the commonly used wax, sealing wax can be used to seal the containers as well as the packets. So how these samples move through? So first we have to select which organ we are going to collect. Then collect that sample, preserve it, pack it, transport it, then it has to be received at the forensic lab. There it is getting processed. So the most common poisoning includes the insecticides. In the insecticides, organophosphorus compounds, carbamate, organochlorine. So rodenticide poisoning is very common in India with respect to the dogs. Accidentally they may ingest. Bait. The bait is a feedstuff contaminated with the poison. So that is being done intentionally. As in the picture you see, the potatoes are filled with the zinc phosphide. So the bait may be in the form of here in India, it may be in the form of grains, usually with the rat poisons or rat cakes. The rat poison may be mixed with the grains, popcorn, or otherwise the poison may be, any poison may be mixed with the meat, meatballs, potatoes, apple, etc. So these bait can be, depending upon its moisture content. If it is having more moisture, collect in the paper bags. If it is dry, you can collect it in the plastic bags. And in case of a decomposing carcass, you collect larvae. So about 100 numbers of larvae can be collected. That should include different stages of the larvae and of different types, different kinds. So one of the insect you collect in the glass vials or glass containers. So while you are putting, you should have only one layer of this larvae or the maggots, and you have to put some moist paper towel inside the vial also. And the other half you can also put it in 75 to 90% ethanol, or otherwise you can use 50% isopropyl alcohol. This is for forensic entomology work. And in case of any suspected drug poisoning, it is the best sample is blood. So the blood can be collected from the jugular vein before you start the postmortem examination. So if you want to collect blood from the jugular vein, use a larger bore needle so that you will be able to withdraw the blood. And you can put the blood into plastic containers, 5 ml containers. That may be containing 1 to 2% sodium fluoride. This sodium fluoride will avoid the postmortem synthesis of carbon monoxide. It may avoid the denaturation of the hemoglobin. It may also inhibit the bacterial ethanol production. Keep it in mind, never store the whole blood in the freezer. Next is ocular fluid. Aqueous humor has to be collected in case of nitrate poisoning. That is the best sample for nitrate poisoning. And the vitreous humor has to be collected in all highly decomposed cases. So whatever the fluid that is available, whether it is aqueous humor, vitreous humor, you collect for each eye, you collect separately. So you can use a 24 gauge needle with a 5 ml syringe. For collecting hair, wool, further you can use wool pack or otherwise Ziploc covers. So 5 to 15 grams of hair, wool, further can be taken. So that can be stored at room temperature itself. These samples will be of use in case of heavy metal poison. So even minerals are eliminated through the hair, hence it will be of use. Milk. So next to the blood, this milk is also a better sample. So some of the drugs get concentrated in the milk also. Likewise, this organochlorine compounds get eliminated through the milk. So you can collect 30 ml of milk. Next, you can go to the skin and subcutaneous tissue. So whenever there is some malicious injectable poisons, if it has been given, whether it is subcutaneous route or otherwise through the vein and all. So while you are doing the postmortem examination, you can find some unusual coloration. So as in this particular case, it is not the vitiligo case. So while examining, we have seen this kind of phlebitis. So along with the leakage of blood in that area. So that is an indication that there is some injection has been done in that particular area. And the other one that is for to show you, it is a very tough job to find out contusion in case of animals. So we cannot see on the outside. So animals have very good, very hairy skin. From the external side, it is very difficult to mark out unless otherwise the hair is last. As in case of alopecia, only we can be able to detect it. So otherwise, we have to remove the skin. You have to see the subcutis. As in this case, you will be able to see in the subcutis, hemorrhage is there. And over the skull also, you can see the hemorrhage also. So this type of contusion, this case actually it is a case of overlay in case of a piglet. So suddenly the piglet might have been died in the next day. So it is because of the overlay by the dam. Fat. So in case of organochlorine compound poisoning, adipose tissue is the best sample because this organochlorine get accumulated in the fat. So you can collect 200 to 300 gram of fat. Most of the time the poisons are ingested only. Hence, any material if you see in the mouth, crop, esophagus, stomach, that has to be collected. So most of the poisoning it is through the digestive tract, through the ingestion. The abdominal cavity, collect the urine. Even if a small quantity is available, you collect it. So if it is, then if the quantity is very less, you put it in the glass tube so that you can examine the urine better. So either minimum you have to collect 100 ml of urine, or otherwise whatever the quantity that is available in the urinary bladder, collect as such. So preservative we can use as fluoride, thymol, or otherwise rectified spirit you can use it. So if you want to go for any other further examination, also you can have 5 to 20 ml of urine in sterile plastic containers. You can have it. So this urine is the best fluid for screening for drugs as well as the toxins. So because it lacks protein and fat. So this protein and fat most of the time interferes with the common screening test. So which is as it is lacking in the urine, it will be the best sample for drug toxicities. And we can correlate the blood concentration with the urine concentration. So there will be much variation will be there in the concentration of the drugs. So next, in the abdominal cavity, you collect bile. So if the urine sample is not available, if the urinary bladder is empty, bile is the next choice because most of the drugs get metabolized in the liver and it is passes through the bile. Hence, bile is the next option. Collect all available bile and preserve with the sodium chloride. So, like drugs like narcotics, benzodiazepine, heavy metals get concentrated in the bile. Hence, bile is the choice. Kidney. So, in case of animals, the size of the kidney, depending upon the animal size, it is widely varying. So, if the size of the kidney is very big, collect 300 gram minimum. If the animal is so smaller, as in case of a pug, a pup, or otherwise a kid, whole of one side kidney should be collected. You know, we have to keep it in mind. The examination is topmost importance rather than the collection. In all the cases, any organ that we are collecting, first and foremost importance is for the examination. If the poison is going to be absent in a particular case, then it is the responsibility of the pathologist or the veterinarian who does the necropsy. They have to decide. Hence, examination is more important rather than the collection of the material. So first is examination. You collect, you examine the organ, then you collect the samples for any laboratory examination. So in case of parenchymatous organs and all, you have to slash every inch. You examine longitudinally, make a cut longitudinally over the kidney. You examine the cortex, medulla, pelvis and all. Then if it has, the kidney has to be put it in the toxicologic testing, then you can make some more incisions over it so that the preservative will enter into the tissues. And the kidney is the one of the best choice for the most of the poisoning, liver and kidney. Body cavity, if the urine is not there and if no bile is there, then the next choice would be with the body cavity fluids. Cavity fluid or otherwise pericardial cavity fluid or otherwise thoracic cavity fluid. If it is in excess, then you have to suspect it. something is going on in the particular cavity. Spleen. So in case of horses, you will be able to see a very big spleen. It may be of 5 kilos. So we need not have that much quantity. It is 100 gram, that will be more than sufficient. It is a spleen is just like a sponge. You will be having blood there. So much of blood will be there. Hence, 100 gram will be more than sufficient. If the spleen size is smaller, you collect the whole of the spleen, as in case of a rabbit, or otherwise a pup. You collect the whole of the spleen. But you see that when the capsule is there, always make a slice so that the preservative will be going inside. Here, you see the liver, it is showing yellowish coloration. So that means when the liver is showing yellowish coloration, that is the biggest problematic area, that is showing the severe lesion, that is showing the hepatitis. You slice it, examine the inside also. I think I have put some video, it is not working. Okay, no problem. So you have to slice each and every inch of the parenchymatous organ. So we have to collect up to 300 gram, or if the liver is smaller in size, you collect the whole liver. But here also you have to make a see that even if you are collecting the whole liver, you have the Lessen's capsule is there. That should be sliced. Then only the preservative will be going inside. Next is heart. So when you see the petechiae, as in the first picture, you see petechiae is the hemorrhage is there. Both epicardial and endocardial hemorrhages are there. That is more suspicious of some toxemia or toxicity. Collect 20 to 50 ml of blood from the inferior vena cava, right atrium or aorta. Why? So in these areas, collection of the blood, pricking these areas, it will be much easier. Inferior vena cava is very easy to approach. While you are taking the swabs also, you can use this particular site. You will be very easily able to puncture this inferior vena cava or posterior vena cava. Then the next option is the right atrium, where you can easily cut it or pierce it. The next choice is it is the aorta. Then only the left ventricle, the latest last one. So you have to place the blood sample in the sterile plastic container. So that can also be used for either for storing in the freezer, or otherwise can be used for culture also. So the blood from when you are taking from the heart, it may be useful only for qualitative screening and not for the quantitative estimation. So blood from the heart without preservative, that can be transported in ice. It may be of use in case of carbon monoxide, coal gas, hydrocyanuric acid, alcohol, chloroform poisoning. So upon opening the right atrium, collect blood clots. So in the postmortem cases, most of the time you will be seeing only the blood clots. So either 500 gram or otherwise whatever the available quantity, it is there. If it is only when the heart is so big, as in case of hearts, you will be able to get so much of blood clot. Along with in case of Nux vomica or strychnine poisoning, you also have to collect the heart also. Lung is a choice in case of any asphyxia cases, or otherwise gaseous poisoning, carbon monoxide, coal gas, hydrocyanuric acid, and alcohol chloroform poisoning also. This is also will be of use in case of organophosphorus toxicity also. And in case of fish, you have to collect the gills. So that is equal to the lungs in case of mammals. Testis will be of use in case of chronic organochlorine toxicity. Next is stomach and its contents. In case of large animal like cars, as you see in the first picture, the stomach is so big, very big. And in case of a ruminant, you see, when you are examining the rumen, if the contents, if it is more greenish, if the contents it is more greenish or otherwise greenish fibrous material is there, along with the ruminal mucosa, if it is showing this kind of severe congestion or hemorrhage, then you have to suspect in case of ruminants, it is the nitrate poisoning or ruminitis suspicion. And examine the contents. If you see some foreign materials like this, small ball like thing, don't collect as such. Make an incision, look into it. What is it? Whether it is any poisonous material or otherwise unusual things. Here in this case, it is only a trichobaza in case of a heifer. This is in case of a heifer. And in case when you are removing the stomach from the abdominal cavity, you tie it at both the ends so that nothing will be spilling. So you have to put two knots 1 inch apart on both the ends, and in between the knots where you have tied up, you have to cut it so that nothing will spill into the abdominal cavity. So this is the same, you have to use it for the intestinal loop also. Then once you have taken it, bring it away from the abdominal cavity, open it over the table. Open the stomach along the greater curvature. While you are opening, note whether you are able to smell anything unusual. Garlic smell, as in case of zinc phosphide poisoning, you will be getting the garlic smell. Bitter almond in case of cyanide poisoning. Now note the color of the contents. If it is a ruminant, it may be greenish. Whether if it is blackish content is there, check for it. Likewise, I have seen one case of aluminum poison, zinc phosphide poisoning in case of chicken, where the content of the crop itself was blackish. I suspected. Upon opening the crop itself, I could be able to get this obnoxious smell of smell. And the color, so that made me to suspect the poison. That is also was a metrological case. So any unusual substance, if it is there other than the feed from the history, we have to get from the owner. Anything unusual, if it is present in the stomach that has not been fed by the owner, we have to collect. That may be the bait. So in case of nitrate poisoning, in case of ruminants, you will be having the entire rumen will be filled with the plant material or the fodder. So only when this, in case of nitrate poisoning, only when the fodder is fed ad libitum at a stretch. So for example, if you are going to feed about 20 kilo per day, if you are giving 20 kilo at a time, if the animal is feeding all the 20 kilo at a time, then it will be a problem. Otherwise, even if the fodder is having some nitrite, if you are splitting it throughout the day 4 or 5 times, then it will not produce the nitrate oxide. So the level of ammonia production, it will be slowed down. In case of dogs, cats, and all, the stomach wall, or in case of ruminants, it is the abomasum. So the fundic as well as the pyloric area that also has to be collected along with the contents. So the stomach wall should also have to be about roughly about 500 gram. Small intestine. Always straighten the intestine. The video is not working. Okay. As I told you for the stomach, here also you have to select some 1 meter of small intestine. You tie both the ends. That intestinal loop along with the contents, take it out. You open it, you examine it. If you see something abnormal or otherwise you are suspecting poisoning, that is a case of poisoning, along with the contents and intestine, you have to put it in the preservative. So that means that this stomach and intestine you have to examine in it. Then only the contents will not go off from the place, or otherwise it will not washed off. So approximate quantity that you have to take it, it is about 500 ml of the content if it is fluid, or otherwise the 500 gram, or otherwise if you don't have that much content, you collect the entire content. Next is dung, feces, or otherwise droppings. Whatever the quantity that is available in the rectum, or otherwise about 500 gram of dung fecal material, if it is available in a larger animal, that can be taken, or whatever that is available from the rectum, you collect it. So this Naxxvomica strychnine get excreted along with the dung and feces. Hence, this will be of use in detecting this poison. So any poison which is not absorbed quickly, it will pass through this fecal material. Hence, that will be of use. Cerebrospinal fluid. So it should be collected in alcohol. Collect whatever that is you can collect in 10 ml plastic container with a screw cap. Brain. So in case of animal showing nervous lesions, you have to collect one half of the brain. One half of the brain. If the brain itself is smaller, you have to use the whole brain. So it will be of use in case of Naxxvomica as well as strychnine poisoning. It will be of use. So this is on the left side. It may be of I think it is from the heifer. The center one it is from the pig, and the right side one it is from the fish. So it is only to show how is the brain of a fish. Hence why I put the picture. Okay. So if it does the species itself, as in case of fish, it is a whole fish. I can you can send it, but only that you open the abdominal cavity. Okay, that has to be done. You can send the whole sample also. Thank you. The specimen itself or the organism or the species it is very small. Okay. Then long bones with the bone marrow. So the portion of long bone, it is a choice in case of subacute to chronic poisoning with arsenic and antimony. And if the carcass is also highly putrefied, or otherwise it is a exhumed body after long burial, the best sample that we get from that particular case is only the bone marrow. It can be used for estimation of the poison. Genitalia. So that has to be collected in case of criminal abortion suspected cases. So this is a case of postmortem endometritis case. So what are the common poisoning that we do encounter? There's a cyanide poisoning. You have to collect oxalated blood from live animal and liver and stomach contents. So in all poisoning, liver, kidney, stomach contents, intestinal contents should be there. In organochlorine, fat should be included along with the liver and stomach contents. Organophosphate, oxalated blood from live animals and liver and stomach contents along with the, as I told you, lung can be included. nitrate poisoning. Aqueous humor is the best choice. Next in order, it is the urine. Blood. Stomach contents, it is only in case of monogastrics. Then suspected fodder, hay, straw, and silage can also be used. Rodenticide poisoning, liver, stomach contents, and urine has to be collected. In sodium chloride toxicity, oxalated whole blood in live animals, brine, stomach contents, and liver has to be collected. In phenol cresol poisoning, liver, stomach content, and kidney has to be collected. In case of mycotoxins poisoning, liver, kidney, stomach contents, suspected fodder, hay, straw, and fuel. In case of zinc phosphide poisoning, stomach contents, intestinal contents, liver, kidney, and suspected material bite has to be included. Environmental samples. So it includes water, feed, and soil. So water we have to collect about a minimum of 500 ml to 1 liter. Feed 500 gram to 1 kg. Fodder, hay, and straw collect 500 gram each, as it is in case of a nitrate poisoning. Plant means the entire plant, minimum of 2 numbers. Soil, we have to collect 500 grams. So the picture, it shows a nitrate test, diphenylamine test. So on the left side, whatever you see as the pinkish thing, there's a permanganate color towards the blackish blue black coloration. That is for the positive for nitrate, that fodder sample. So whereas on the right side, it is a negative, where we are not getting any coloration. That is a very simple test that can be used in the field. It is a feed bite, 500 gram has to be collected. So that can be packed in or preserved in case of glass jar, or otherwise paper or plastic, depending upon the quantity. So when we are collecting the plant samples, press the plant samples, dry it, or otherwise you can also freeze it. Mushroom means whole mushroom has to be collected. So that has to be kept cool and dry in loosely sealed paper bags. Water 500 to 1 liter. Clean glass jar we have to use. Bedding materials, you can use 500 grams. So that can also be kept in the paper or plastic bags. So in case of animals, live animals, antemortem samples, whole blood can be preserved in EDTA or heparin. See that whole blood should be refrigerated. It should not be frozen. Serum 5 to 10 ml can be collected. It can be frozen also. Urine 50 to 100 ml in plastic screw cup container can collect it. Milk 30 ml can be collected and can be refrigerated. Ingesta and fecal material at least 100 gram can be frozen also. Injection size, it may be minimum 100 to 200 grams, that can also be frozen and can be sent. Hair 10 gram. So here, which area we are collecting the hair, either from the main area or otherwise from the tail area, we have to note down. So in case of clinical cases, so gastrointestinal contents, so that is vomitus or the stomach content, that would be of good choice while we are attempting to treat the animal. While we are doing the gastric lavage, you can collect such materials that will be of use in detecting the poisons. So to some the other samples, so the usage. So liver, it may be of use in case of heavy metals, pesticide, pharmaceuticals. Kidney, heavy metals, ethylene glycol, pharmaceutical plant toxins. Brain, sodium chloride toxicity, acetylcholinesterase to detect acetylcholinesterase activity, pesticide toxicities. Fat, organochlorine, bromethylene, ACP toxicities. Ocular fluid to detect level of potassium, nitrates, ammonia, magnesium. Retina will be of use in detecting the acetylcholinesterase activity. Lung will be of lung spleen will be used in case of paraquat and barbiturate toxicity. Injection site in case of drugs toxicity. Whole blood for heavy metal, acetylcholinesterase activity and insecticide poisoning. Serum, metal levels, drug levels, alkalides, electrolyte levels, detection may be of use. Urine, heavy metal alkalides as well as drugs. Milk, organochlorine toxicity. Fecal material, metal, plant toxin, mycotoxin and other toxicants. Hair, pesticide as well as heavy metal poisoning. Feed, inophore, salt, pesticide, heavy metal, mycotoxins. Botulism toxicity. So in case of chicken, so if they feed on the larvae, if the larvae is having the Clostridium botulinum, and the preformed toxin, if you have the botulinum toxin in it, if it is ingested by the birds, they will be dying. So the larvae that is there in the crop that has to be taken, they have to be subjected for the toxin analysis, botulinum toxin. Soil, as in case of pesticide, heavy metals, insects for forensic entomology can be taken. So it is all paracamatous organs should be slashed, it should be cut every inch so that the preservative goes inside. And you see that the organ that we collect, it should be well dipped in the preservative. So how to pack the samples? It should be, the packing should be done in the presence of the veterinary officer or the pathologist. How the label it should be there in the container. So you should contain the postmortem number, date, name of the owner, identification features of the animal, species, breed, sex, age, name, number, identification marks, then type of organ or tissue collected and its amount, how much gram of liver you have collected. For example, you have to write 500 gram of liver or 200 gram of kidney like that. And the type and quantity of preservative used. So the saturated salt solution, 300 ml. Here it should be indicated. And we have to put the sign. Veterinary officer have to put the sign. You have to put the seal also in the label also. Sign should be there. Designation should also be there. That should be in the form of seal, of a seal. The packing. So you can apply some grease material if you are wholly using the glass bottle. So because glass, while you are packing it, sometimes it may be very tight, we may not be able to open it. That will be a problem. So for ease of opening, very little amount of grease or Vaseline, you can put a layer over the lid that is touching the container. So all the container, as in the picture I have put, all the containers should be packed with cloth, so on the top, covering the lid, and should be sealed with the sealing wax. As we have put the knot, then we have put the seal. So with the seal, as I told you, it may be a personal seal or otherwise office. So that should be in the form of metal seal. So that specifically we have to prepare such kind of seal for this kind of toxicologic sample packet. Then you can keep the bottles in the cardboard box and you can also seal it. Keep the cardboard box in wooden box, lock the wooden box and seal it. And you have to paste the address label covering the keyhole of the lock. Use separate box for different containers, different cases. Keep adequate material like thermocol in the parcel which will be of use in avoiding the jerks or otherwise breaking the containers. And if you are going to send the frozen sample, you can use the dry ice. That will dry ice, or otherwise nowadays we can use the gel packs. That is much safer. So on the outer covering that is being transported, it should contain the biohazard symbol as it is there, as I have put it. And you have to put the label, handle with the gloves, toxic chemical, or otherwise biological. You can write it as biological. So the covering letter. So the covering letter should be addressed to the forensic laboratory, regional forensic science laboratory. The address should be completely and clearly it should be returned. Yeah. So the covering letter should contain the information about name of the officer from whom the order has been received. That is a postmortem request letter from the sub-inspector of police, for example. And we have to give the reference to the FIR, first information report, under what section it has been booked. Then identification of the animal, species, sex, age, breed, identification marks and all. You have to give the detail of the owner, name and address of the owner, detail of the list of samples sent, how many samples, what are all the samples you are sending, the type of preservative used, the type of container that we are using, whether it is a glass container, a plastic container, or otherwise a plastic bag, or otherwise a paper bag like that. We also have to send the sample of preservative in a separate container. So 200 ml minimum, we have to send 200 ml of the preservative. So if it is saturated solution, 200 ml separately we have to send it, and that also should be packed and sealed. That should be sent along with the parcel. And we should also keep a paper containing the sample of seal. So that is a metal seal with the arak, sealing wax. So that we have to put in a separate sheet of paper and we have to put it in a cover. We have to give a lead to the chemical examiner. What is the disease or otherwise poisoning that we are suspecting? And what type of examination you are, toxicological examination, poison questioning. And you also have to include a copy of the postmortem report along with the complete institution. That should be enclosed. The impression of the seal used in closing the container and the description of the seal also should be mentioned in the same covering letter. You have to mention what is there in the seal, and the impression of the seal also should be there in the covering letter at the bottom. So where we usually put as the enclosure, there. You have to give a gap, there you have to put that impression. Then how you are going to transmit the samples? If most of the time we have to transmit only through the messenger, that is through the police. And we have to get the name, what is the ID number for them, their official address also. That should also be mentioned there. Through him only we are transporting the sample, through the messenger. And in the office copy, we have to get his signature that he has received the sample also. So that we can have the chain of custody. It is there. So it is first we are collecting. It is under the, till it is being handed over to the police, the custodian is the veterinarian. So it is in all probability, it is only our responsibility to keep the samples under safe custody. So once it is handed over to the police, we have to get the acknowledgement from him that he has received the sample. The letter to the forensic lab. In addition to the covering letter, you have to keep a copy of a postmortem request letter from the sub-inspector of police or the district magistrate. You have to include a copy of FIR, first information report. So the covering letter, we have to prepare 3 copies. So one copy should accompany the material that is going along with the messenger. One copy should be sent by post to the chemical examiner, informing their dispatch also. You have to send a copy and we have to inform that samples are being sent through this such a messenger. You have to inform. And one copy you retain with you for future reference. So try to send the samples as soon as it is collected, as it is better, so that we can be free. that sample will be moving to the police under their custody. So send the sample so that no breakage occurs in the transit. So that way we have to maintain the package, and also you have to maintain the chain of evidence. So that means we have to get the acknowledgement. So while it is given from the veterinarian to the police, we have to get the receipt from the police to the chemical examiner. There also we have to get the receipt that the samples are received. So for that also some evidence label can be attached along with the specimen also. If any specimens are to be maintained with the forensic pathologists, they must be kept in a secure area to avoid the risk of contamination, mix up or otherwise tampering by some other people. So sometimes gross and histological findings may assist in the diagnosis of toxicity, as in case of lead poisoning. So it is in case of lead poisoning, you will be able to see if you examine the piece of kidney and substitute for histopathological examination, you will be able to find the intranuclear intrusions would be there in the relate tubular epithelial cells. So that may give you a lead for the testing. So if the samples are not forwarded to the chemical examiner, so sometimes we can keep it for sometimes if we are not that much we are suspecting the chemical poisoning, you can subject to the other samples for other diagnostic approach, and later also we can send it in a few days. If the all other samples seems to be negative, biological material, biological infectious agent, if it is negative, then you have to definitely you have to send it to the chemical examiner. So if the samples are not forwarded to the chemical examiner, the samples that you are collected, that should be preserved for a period of 6 months. If it is a metrological case, we have to get the consent from the district magistrate to destroy them. Then only we have to destroy them. Without which we should not destroy them. We have to minimum, we have to keep it for just 6 months. So storage of the samples, correct, secure storage of the material from the forensic gas is this is vital, and it is we have to keep it confidential. So the correct storage, it means security, safety, and we should be readily able to identify where we have kept the material, and we should be able to retrieve it as quickly as possible, and we have to maintain the chain of custody also. So you can, when you are sending the samples to the toxicology lab, one set you have to collect the samples in duplicate. One sample you can send it to toxicology lab. Other sample, if you can keep it with you, either in the freezer or otherwise in the preservative that you are using. And if you are going to keep it in the refrigerators or the freezer, so you have to maintain a register of the samples, what is there in the particular fridge. And to keep the cold chain, the backup facilities with the generator should be available for the refrigerator and freezers. And most of the time when we collect the samples, we leave it into the refrigerator and we forget it. That's all. That is very commonly done mistake. It should not be like this. So whenever we are putting a sample into the fridge, we should maintain a register where when we are putting the specimen in and when we are taking it out, and we have to put the date and signature. That register has to be maintained for the sample in and sample out for each and every refrigerator or freezer. So as I told you, half of the samples you can retain it with you. If the toxicologist, again, if they ask if any more sample is available, sometimes they may ask some more samples. If they are unable to find out in some of the tests some poison, if they are unable to find out, if they want some more tests to be done, then they may ask some more samples from. So in such cases, the saved sample it will be of use. So it is a good practice to retain some material like liver in glutaraldehyde for electron microscopy. Brine may be frozen at minus 20 degrees centigrade for analysis of the pesticide. So if there is a further necessity, and if the court asks you to investigate further in case of poisoning and all. So how long we have to keep the materials with us? These retained samples with the one half of the sample or the duplicate sample. So it is highly questionable. Nobody knows. So because the legal case may drag on for years to. So but commonly toxicologic samples should be kept for a minimum of 2 or preferably 5 years after analysis, because till the court case is finishing, we should keep the samples with us. So in case of histopathology, also should be subjected all the samples to rule out the major pathological changes in the organs, and also we have to confirm the gross lesions. We have to collect samples for histopathological examination. We can put it in 10% formalin or formalin or buffered formalin. So it is a replica of so far. It is whole blood, serum, urine, milk, ingest, liver, kidney, brain, ocular fluid, fat, lung, injection site, subcutaneous. And in case of live animals, you can take liver biopsy. Muscles, in case of cyanide, selenium poisoning, hair can be collected. So it is we may not be able to cover all the poisoning and what are the materials to be collected. So it is always better to consult the nearby regional lab when you suspect some poison. So the best reference for this kind of toxicologic testing or otherwise guidance, pathology and all is you can go through this veterinary pathology article. It is veterinary forensic toxicology, or otherwise this book, Veterinary Forensic Pathology by Jason W. Brooks. Okay, thank you.